this is Miss Jo from Cicada, and today we're going to talk about peer pressure. What is peer pressure? Pressure from one's peers to behave in a manner similar or acceptable to them. Peer pressure is the influence of a social group or an individual. It's also when others try to influence how you act or try to get you to do something you normally wouldn't. You are experiencing peer pressure. Did you know that there are two kinds of peer pressure? There is positive peer pressure and negative peer pressure. Positive peer pressure is pressure to do something that is in your best interest, like studying for a test. Negative peer pressure is pressure to do something that is not in your best interest, like drinking alcohol. Okay, let's get started. Here is scenario number 1. Your good friend John asked you to come over to his house after school to work on a science project. John is a straight-A student who has helped you with school projects before. When you get there, you see that there are no adults or other kids there. John goes to the refrigerator, gets a bottle of his father's beer, opens it, and takes a sip. He then hands you the bottle and says, "Here, have some. I do it all the time. I never get caught." What would you do? Pause the video, write down your 5 options and consequences, and discuss it as a group. Here is scenario number 2. A new kid moves to the area and joins your class. A lot of people make fun of this kid and he doesn't stand up for himself. You discover that when you tease him, you can get your friends to laugh. One day, you make up a nickname for him that everyone thinks is funny and people start calling him by that name. When you see how the name upsets the kid, you begin to feel bad. But you tell yourself, you don't do it very often, and most of the kids pick on him much more than you. Still, the name you thought up really seems to make him miserable. What would you do? Pause the video, write your options and consequences, and discuss it as a group. Okay, scenario number 3. While you're shopping at Walgreens, you see one of your classmates, Keith, in another aisle. You go over and say hello. Keith asks you to look around and tell him if any store employees are watching. You glance around and say, "No, why?" Keith then picks up a magazine and tucks it into his backpack. He says, "Keep this quiet, okay?" What would you do? Pause the video, write your options and consequences, and discuss it as a group. Okay, here is the last scenario. You stayed late at a friend's house to finish up work on a project that is due tomorrow in science class. Your friend Zoe asked you if you wanted to stay for dinner, and when you called home, your parents said it was all right. During dinner, you notice that Zoe's mom is drinking several glasses of wine. After your project is done, her mom says, "I'll drive you home. No need to bring your parents all the way out here to get you." You feel like she's had too much wine to drink. What would you do? Pause the video, write your options and consequences, and discuss it as a group. Okay, we're back. I know that everyone probably has some great discussions on those different scenarios because let's face it, peer pressure is a really difficult thing when you're confronted with it. But I have 2 rules that you can follow and try to remember when you're confronted with peer pressure. Rule number 1, everyone has the right to feel safe all of the time. And rule number 2, nothing is so awful that you can't talk to someone about it. Those 2 rules will help you a lot when you're confronted with peer pressure and you have difficult choices that you need to make. So this is Miss Jo, thanking you again for watching this presentation, and visit cicada.org for more resources.